Hello, and welcome to Simple English Talk. If you're learning English and sometimes feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure where to begin, you're not alone. Today's video will guide you through 5 common mistakes that many English beginners make, and more importantly, how to fix them with clarity, purpose, and confidence. This isn't just a language lesson. It's a journey into how we grow, how we speak, and how we rise through the struggle. Every section is designed to speak to your heart as well as your mind. So take a deep breath, listen closely, and let English become not just something you study, but something you begin to live. If this message speaks to you, please make sure to subscribe to Simple English Talk and share this video with someone who needs encouragement and clear direction on their path to English fluency. Section 1. The Silent Struggle. There is a moment when someone begins to learn English, and at first, it feels like standing at the edge of a deep, wide river. On the other side lies freedom, the ability to speak, connect, and be understood. But between you and that freedom is a silence that feels like fear. It is not the kind of fear that shouts. It whispers. It hides in the pauses before you speak, in the long seconds when your mind searches for the right word, and in the moments after a conversation when you replay everything, wondering if you embarrassed yourself. Many beginners carry this silent struggle within them. They feel as if their mistakes are proof of failure, as if every wrong word is a shame, and so they stop trying. They become quiet. They wait for the perfect sentence to come, but it never does. This fear of speaking is the first and most dangerous mistake. It is not just about the voice. It is about confidence, about self-worth, about believing that your voice matters even if it is uncertain, even if it stumbles. Language was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be human. It was meant to connect, to heal, to explore. And that only happens when you are brave enough to use it, even when you are not ready. Especially when you are not ready. You must understand that silence will never teach you to speak. Silence protects you, but it also holds you back. Imagine a child learning to walk. They fall, they cry, but they keep going. No one tells them to stop until they are perfect. So why do we expect ourselves to speak perfectly in a language we are still learning? The truth is, mistakes are part of the process. They are not the enemy of learning. They are the very proof that you are learning. To break this silence, begin small. Talk to yourself in English while walking or cleaning. Whisper words you know. Describe what you see. Say your thoughts out loud. No one needs to hear you, but you need to hear yourself. Then, speak to others. Start with one sentence. One greeting, one question. Let your words be imperfect. Let them be real. Each time you speak, no matter how awkward or broken it feels, you grow stronger. You begin to trust your voice. You begin to believe that your voice deserves space in the world, in any language. And in that belief, something beautiful begins to happen. The fear doesn't disappear all at once, but it becomes quieter. It stops controlling you. Your words come more easily. Your heart opens. And slowly, the silence that once held you back becomes the space where your confidence begins to grow. Section 2. The Translation Trap. In the early stages of learning English, many beginners rely heavily on their native language as a bridge. It feels safe. It feels familiar. So, when they come across a new English sentence, they instinctively begin translating it word for word. They try to match every English word with one from their own language. It seems logical, but language is more than words. It is rhythm, tone, and meaning. It is culture and context. And that's why direct translation, while helpful at first, quickly becomes a trap. When you translate word by word, you bring your language's logic into English, even though the structure is often very different. In many cases, The sentence you build may be grammatically incorrect or sound unnatural to native speakers. This mistake isn't about grammar. It's about the mindset. Language is not a puzzle where you replace pieces. It's a new way of expressing thought, a different way of feeling ideas. So, if you try to speak English using the structure of your own language, you may struggle with fluency, even if you know the vocabulary. Think of it this way. Imagine dancing to the rhythm of a new song, but your body still remembers the steps of another dance. You might move, but the movements won't match the music. The same happens when your thoughts are in one language and your words are in another. There is tension. There is hesitation. But when you stop translating and start thinking in English, the music and the movement align. How do you begin to think in English? You start small. Don't worry about building perfect sentences right away. Focus on expressions. Learn phrases as they are used, not as individual words. For example, instead of learning take, a, and shower as three separate terms, learn the entire phrase take a shower as one idea. When your brain recognizes that as a single unit, it no longer needs to translate. It simply recalls and uses the expression. This process is called chunking, and it's how native speakers naturally speak. They don't build sentences word by word. They recall common combinations of words and use them effortlessly. If you train your mind the same way, your English will begin to feel more natural. You'll spend less time thinking and more time understanding. It also helps to expose yourself to authentic English. Listen to how native speakers speak. Watch how they connect words. Observe the expressions they use for everyday situations. Then repeat them. Write them. Say them aloud. Use them in context. With time, your brain will stop needing to compare. You will begin to feel the meaning instead of translating it. And when that happens, something shifts. You stop seeing English as a foreign system you must convert. It becomes something that flows directly from your thoughts. That is the beginning of fluency, not just in words, but in the soul of the language. Section 3. The Grammar Obsession. There is a kind of beauty in grammar that only a few notice at first. It is the architecture of a language, the quiet foundation that holds the house of meaning together. It creates order, structure, and clarity. But when grammar becomes the center of one's focus, especially at the beginning of learning a language, it can shift from a helpful guide to a heavy burden. Many learners find themselves lost in rules before they ever find their voice. They wait until every sentence is perfect before speaking, and in doing so, they delay the very growth they long for. This desire for perfection is the third mistake. It is often born not from curiosity, but from fear. Fear of being wrong, of being misunderstood, of being judged. Yet the irony is that the fear of imperfection prevents any real progress. Perfection, in the realm of language, is a mirage. You chase it endlessly, but it always stays out of reach. And while you chase it, the opportunity to connect, to explore, to learn from doing, quietly slips away. Consider how children learn to speak. They do not begin with grammar books. They begin with sounds, emotions, gestures. They laugh, cry, try, and fail. And all the while, they grow. Grammar comes later, almost like a gift wrapped in experience. You must give yourself permission to be like that, to be imperfect, to be real, to be learning. Language is not a mechanical system to be mastered before use. It is a living force meant to be used while you grow into it. Let grammar be your companion, not your master. Use it not to judge yourself, but to guide your development. When you speak or write and realize you've made a mistake, notice it with kindness. Learn from it, but do not stop yourself from speaking because of it. Communication is more than correctness. It is presence, intention, and connection. Sometimes, a broken sentence filled with emotion can touch someone more deeply than a flawless one spoken without soul. Balance is the key. Structure gives you form, but spontaneity gives you life. Together, they create fluency. There is a quiet wisdom in knowing when to follow the rule and when to follow the moment. A conversation is not a grammar test. It is a bridge between hearts and minds. If your heart is in the sentence, your mistakes will not block your meaning. They will simply remind others and yourself that you are human and that you are trying. So study grammar, yes, but do not worship it. Do not measure your worth by the number of rules you remember. Measure it by your courage to speak, your willingness to learn, and your patience with yourself. This is how language grows, not in perfection, but in persistence. Section 4. The listening neglect. There is a silence before every word, and within that silence lives the power of listening. It is where language truly begins, not in grammar drills or vocabulary lists, but in the quiet act of receiving. Yet this is what most learners forget. They rush to speak, to produce, to perform. They treat English like a mountain to be climbed with effort and repetition. But a language is not a mountain. It is a river. It must flow into you before it can flow out of you. The fourth mistake is this neglect of listening. And it is not just an oversight, it is a misunderstanding of how language grows. Before you can shape English with your mouth, it must echo in your ears. You must first let it live inside you, quietly, constantly, gently shaping your thoughts from the inside out. If you try to force English out before it has entered you deeply, your words will feel foreign, unnatural, disconnected from meaning. But if you listen first, truly listen, then your voice will rise with the music of the language already within you. Listening is not simply hearing. It is a sacred form of attention. When you listen to English, not just for meaning but for music, tone, pause, rhythm, you begin to internalize the living spirit of the language. You feel where the voice rises and where it rests. You hear how questions carry curiosity, how stories hold emotion, how silence makes space for understanding. These are not things a textbook can teach. They can only be learned through presence, through surrender, through immersion. Imagine surrounding yourself with English like light. Let it shine into your day without force or pressure. While you walk, listen to a podcast. While you rest, let an audiobook carry you. Even while doing small chores, let English speak softly in the background. It's not about understanding every word. It's about absorbing the patterns. Like listening to the ocean, not to count the waves, but to feel their rhythm. This is how you train your ear. This is how the language begins to settle into your consciousness. Listening daily, even for a few minutes, begins to rewire the brain. Slowly, without realizing it, you start to predict the next word. You begin to recognize not only vocabulary, but tone and intention. You feel when something sounds right, even before you know why. And one day, when you open your mouth to speak, the words come, not perfectly, but naturally. Not from memory, but from the deep well of familiarity you have built through listening. Let English enter you not as noise, but as nourishment. Let it fill the quiet spaces of your day, not to test yourself, but to feel the language living inside you. Listening is the breath of all language. Breathe it in fully, and your voice will carry it with life when the time comes to speak. Section 5. The comparison game. You watch someone speak English with confidence. Their words flow like a calm river. They seem to know exactly what to say, how to say it, and when to pause. And in that moment, you feel a shadow pass through you. You wonder, why can't I speak like that? Why am I still struggling? It feels like you're behind, like something is wrong with you. This is the quiet, dangerous mistake that so many learners fall into, comparing themselves to others. Comparison rarely brings light. It often dims what is already growing within you. You forget how far you've come. You ignore the progress that doesn't look dramatic, but matters deeply. You don't see the invisible steps, the hours you've listened, the words you've repeated, the moments you've tried even when it felt hard. Instead, you measure yourself by someone else's timeline, someone else's voice, someone else's journey. But learning a language is not a race. It is not about arriving first. It is about becoming. You must remember that everyone you compare yourself to also started with doubt. They once struggled to form a sentence. They once froze in conversations. Their fluency is not magic. It is made of quiet days, consistent effort, small victories, and many, many mistakes, just like yours. The difference is not talent. It is time, patience, and persistence. You are not behind. You are simply in a different chapter of your story. Your voice is yours. No one else has your rhythm, your story, your soul. That is what makes your journey unique. You are not meant to copy another. You are meant to find your own sound, your own way of expressing yourself. When you compare yourself to others, you close the door to that discovery. You replace curiosity with shame. You replace growth with pressure. And that pressure can make even simple progress feel heavy. Instead of looking outward, look inward. Ask yourself, what did I learn today that I didn't know yesterday? Did I speak, even if it was only a few words? Did I try? Then that is growth. And growth is worthy of celebration. Speak kindly to yourself. Be your own encouragement. Every time you use English, even if imperfectly, you are stepping into courage. You are building something new. That deserves your respect. Hold on to the vision of who you are becoming. Let that vision guide you, not the image of someone else's success. Everyone blooms in their season. Your English voice is not late. It is preparing. It is unfolding. Trust your pace. Walk your path with pride. You are not only learning a language, you are transforming how you see, hear, and share the world. That is something no comparison can ever measure. You've just walked through 5 of the most important truths about learning English as a beginner. Maybe you've recognized some of these mistakes in yourself. That's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're growing, that you're aware, and that you're ready to improve. Remember, learning English is not just about memorizing grammar or vocabulary. It's about creating space for your voice to emerge, to evolve, and to express who you are. You're not behind. You're becoming. If you found value in this video, don't forget to follow the channel Simple English Talk and share it with a friend or learner who might need these words today. Thank you for listening, and remember, your English journey is just beginning. See you in the next video.